This is the Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport. One of the most expensive Bugattis ever made. For example, some of you guys were asking, when we fixed the Bugatti, I repaired this wire here on the crash sensor.
The biggest move in the hypercar world didn't happen at a car show. It came in a cardboard box. Koenigsegg sent official factory gear, not to a billionaire, not a celebrity, but to a YouTuber named Mat Armstrong. And now he's doing what Bugatti said was impossible.
You can't do that in a garage. There's just a few places in the world with the right equipment and only a few people in the world with the right training to be able to do that.
Stripping a $6 million Chiron Pur Sport, bolt by bolt, without permission. Why would Christian von Koenigsegg quietly hand him the keys to the kingdom? And could one tiny electric motor in Sweden be the death knell for Bugatti's legendary W16? This is a story about power, pride, and a war nobody saw coming. Koenigsegg's quiet act of war. The story begins quietly. No flashing cameras, no viral press release, no drama on social media. Just a sealed, stamped box leaving the Koenigsegg factory in Ängelholm, Sweden. The address printed on it belonged to one man, Mat Armstrong, the British YouTuber who has spent years doing what the automotive world considers reckless. Buying wrecked hypercars most mechanics refuse to touch and rebuilding them, live on camera for millions of subscribers to watch. Armstrong's resume reads like a list of impossible restorations: a Lamborghini Revuelto, a Ferrari 296 GTB, a Lamborghini Aventador, a Murcielago. These are not just cars, they are hybrid hypercars wrapped in carbon fiber, loaded with systems so complex that even factory technicians rely on specialized tools just to diagnose issues. Yet Armstrong took them all on, spending his own money, time, and energy, while the manufacturers never once acknowledged him. No phone calls, no partnerships, no recognition. Then Koenigsegg did something extraordinary. They reached out first, without anyone asking. They sent official factory gear, hoodies, t-shirts, exclusive merchandise that most customers wait years to receive. Items that are not for sale anywhere, symbols of the hypercar brand's identity and culture. Koenigsegg produces only 20 to 35 cars a year. Their merchandise is almost sacred, an honorary membership into a world few ever see. And Christian von Koenigsegg sent that membership card directly to a man currently challenging Bugatti's iron grip on their own cars. Why now? Why Armstrong? Why this exact moment when Bugatti has publicly fought against independent rebuilds and maintained tight control over its factory-maintained W16S? This was not friendship. This was positioning. Koenigsegg walked past the closed doors Bugatti was desperately guarding and quietly opened a window, politely, calmly, and deliberately. The effect was immediate. While Bugatti continues to insist that independent repairs of a Chiron are impossible, Armstrong has proven otherwise, and Koenigsegg's quiet endorsement only amplifies it. This isn't just a YouTuber rebuilding a car, it's a seismic shift in the hypercar world. It's a message: the future belongs to brands that empower their customers, not control them. And somewhere in Sweden, Christian von Koenigsegg is smiling, knowing he just nudged the industry into its next era. One quiet package at a time. When $6 million meets a garage. Sitting inside an ordinary workshop right now, not a Bugatti-certified service center, not a multi-million-dollar factory floor, just a regular garage with regular tools, is one of the rarest, fastest, and most exclusive machines ever built by human hands. A Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport, original price tag $6 million, current condition totaled, current owner a man who refused to let the wreckage win. Here is how it all started. The car was destroyed in a crash. The insurance company did exactly what insurance companies always do. They paid the owner out. They wrote the car off. They expected the wreck to vanish quietly into the salvage auction world like every other unwanted hypercar before it. But the owner had something completely different in mind. He bought the wreck back from the insurance company. He picked up the phone. He called Mat Armstrong, and he asked the kind of question that almost nobody in the industry had ever dared to ask out loud. Could a $6 million Bugatti actually be rebuilt outside of Bugatti's own factory? When the car arrived at Armstrong's workshop, the damage was brutal. Body panels mangled and twisted, windscreen completely gone, airbags deployed and hanging from the cabin like defeated parachutes. The interior stripped down to bare carbon fiber. But it was what they found underneath the EPE panels that made the entire room go silent. Visible cracks running along both sides of the gearbox housing. Not surface scratches, not cosmetic flaws. Real structural damage in one of the most heavily engineered components in the entire car. And the only way to inspect that damage properly was to do something Mat Armstrong himself had publicly stated should never be attempted outside a controlled facility. Split the car in half. Separate the rear engine and gearbox assembly from the front carbon fiber monocoque. Without factory tools, without factory training, without factory parts. And Bugatti? Bugatti was offering zero help. No instruction manuals, no technical diagrams, no replacement components for sale. Nothing. The full weight of one of the most powerful automotive manufacturers on Earth landed squarely on the word no. But Armstrong's team kept moving. They removed the engine cover. They pulled the rear wing. They unbolted the diffuser.
And it was the engine cover, and this thing was surprisingly expensive, but I did want to fit it.
And as they peeled the car back layer by layer, they discovered something fascinating. The Chiron was actually built in a modular way. The massive carbon fiber panels were not permanently bonded to the structure. They were bolted on, hidden fasteners, removable assemblies. It was almost as if Bugatti's own engineers had quietly designed the car to be repairable, even while the brand itself was telling the world it could not be done. Then came the moment everything changed. The team identified the 14 titanium bolts holding the rear half of the car to the front. They disconnected the battery. They unhooked the prop shaft. They drained the coolant lines, the hydraulic lines, the brake lines. They unplugged wiring looms made entirely of white wires with no color coating, a troubleshooting nightmare designed by Bugatti itself. Every system that linked the two halves was carefully separated. And then the first titanium bolt came free, one small piece of metal hitting the workbench. But the symbolism was enormous. Because in that exact second, the impossible became possible. The forbidden became inevitable. And somewhere on the other side of the world, Mat Armstrong was about to lose his mind. Why Mat Armstrong is reportedly furious. Now we get to the part of this story that Bugatti would honestly prefer you stop thinking about. Because Mat Armstrong's official response sounds completely reasonable on the surface, but the second you start looking at it from a real angle, the cracks become impossible to ignore. Armstrong stepped out publicly to address the rebuild. His main argument was safety. He explained that the kind of damage on this Chiron, possible internal cracks in the carbon fiber monocoque, confirmed cracks in the gearbox housing, deployed airbags that need precise recalibration, requires factory-level equipment that simply does not exist in independent workshops. He pointed out fairly that the Chiron is capable of speeds above 250 miles per hour. At those speeds, he said, even tiny engineering mistakes can become catastrophic. He even took a moment to correct a wild internet rumor by clarifying that each Chiron headlight actually costs around $25,000, not the $150,000 the internet had been screaming about. So a pair runs about $50,000. Still absurd by normal car standards, but not the apocalyptic figure the rumor mill suggested. Sounds reasonable, right? Until a YouTuber called FX Alex G picked up that argument and tore it in half with a single brutal question. If safety is the actual concern, then why does Bugatti also refuse to sell headlights?
Yeah, bro, I was so stressed because Bugatti wasn't cooperating with me, selling me parts for the Bugatti.
Because headlights have nothing to do with structural safety. They do not require splitting the car. They can be installed by any decent technician in any decent shop. They are about as far from a critical safety component as a car part can get, and yet Bugatti will not sell them either. That one question, that one tiny line of logic, cracked the entire defense wide open, because what Rimac was really saying, what he could not say out loud, was not about safety at all. It was about control. The hypercar industry has spent decades quietly building a wall between owners and independent repair. That wall is what keeps prices astronomical. That wall is what keeps customers locked into the factory ecosystem for life. And the moment a YouTuber with a workshop proves that wall can be climbed, the entire business model begins to wobble. If it breaks for Bugatti, it eventually breaks for everyone. Now here is the part that has to be eating at Mat Rimac in private. Rimac himself became a legend by being exactly the kind of person he is, now telling the world to stop being. He built electric supercars in his own garage when every expert said it was impossible. He turned that garage hustle into a company so impressive that Bugatti folded itself into his world. His entire myth, his entire personal brand, his entire reason for being respected was built on the idea that brilliant outsiders can change the industry from outside. And now he is leading the company that is publicly telling brilliant outsiders to back off. This is not just bad optics. This is an identity crisis playing out in real time at the very top of the automotive world. And every photo of Mat Armstrong holding a Koenigsegg hoodie twists that knife a little deeper. Because while Bugatti was busy defending walls, Koenigsegg was busy proving they had already built something entirely different, something that does not need walls to survive. Koenigsegg's secret weapon. To really understand why Christian Koenigsegg can throw shade at Bugatti this confidently, you have to understand what has been quietly cooking inside his engineering bunker. Because while Bugatti has spent years defending the legacy of the W16 engine, Koenigsegg has spent the same years building one of the most disruptive pieces of automotive technology this decade has seen. They call it dark matter. And it might just be the real reason Bugatti is sweating right now. Here is what dark matter actually is. It is an electric motor, but not the kind you have ever seen before. Most electric motors in the world today use radial flux design. It is the industry standard.
But axial flux motors.
These machines are about a factor of 10 more effective.
It works at high speeds, it is reliable, it is well understood. A few specialized motors use axial flux instead, more compact, stronger torque, but harder to cool and harder to build. For decades, every engineering team had to pick a side, speed or torque, compact or strong. Koenigsegg looked at that decision and refused both options. They invented something they call raxial flux, a hybrid design that combines both motor philosophies into a single unit, magnetic forces moving in two directions at the same time. Power flowing in ways traditional motors physically cannot replicate, and the result is almost unfair. The dark matter motor weighs 39 kilograms. That is roughly the weight of a large suitcase. From that one tiny piece of engineering, Koenigsegg pulls 800 horsepower and 1,250 newton-meters of torque. Just to put that in perspective, the Tesla Model S Plaid uses 3 separate electric motors to deliver similar performance. Combined, those 3 motors weigh around 90 kilograms. Dark matter does the same job with one motor weighing less than half. It spins up to 8,500 revolutions per minute. It hits 95% efficiency, and it delivers instant, gear-free, uninterrupted power that makes traditional drivetrains feel ancient. But Koenigsegg did not stop at the motor itself. They reinvented the electrical system around it too. Most of the industry uses 3-phase power. Koenigsegg doubled it and built a 6-phase system. 2 sets of windings, offset by 30 degrees, working together to reduce vibration, reduce heat, and add a critical safety layer. If one phase fails, the motor keeps running on the other 5 at around 83% power, instead of losing a full third instantly. They paired this with a custom inverter they call David, built using silicon carbide semiconductor technology that switches faster and survives higher temperatures than traditional silicon. The David inverter makes over 100,000 electrical decisions every single second, watching throttle, watching grip, watching temperature, adjusting power in real time. The whole thing is liquid-cooled through channels carved directly inside the motor structure itself. This is the engineering that now lives inside the Koenigsegg Chimera, the four-seat hypercar that somehow combines hypercar performance with family car practicality. And here is the brutal truth Bugatti has to confront. The Chiron's W16 is a masterpiece. Nobody is denying that. But it is also the heaviest, most maintenance-hungry, most service-dependent powertrain in the modern era. Every service costs tens of thousands. Every component requires specialized factory tools. Dark matter has none of those problems. It is small, it is clean, it is repairable. It is the future. And Bugatti knows it. The silent revolution in hypercars. So where does all of this leave the industry now? Because what started as a story about a single box shipped from Sweden has quietly grown into something much, much bigger. It has become a story about who actually controls the next decade of hypercars. And the answer is starting to look completely different than it did even a year ago. For decades, the hypercar industry has run on one simple principle: build the car, sell the car, control absolutely everything that happens to that car afterward. Customers were allowed to drive it, photograph it, post it, even race it, but the moment something serious broke, they had to come back. There was no other path. The factory was the only legal route back to operational status. That business model generated enormous amounts of money. It also kept manufacturers in absolute, unchallenged control. But it depended on one fragile thing: customer compliance. And in 2026, customer compliance is finally breaking. Mat Armstrong has already proven that with enough skill, enough patience, and enough public documentation, a $6 million Bugatti can be brought back to life outside the factory. Whether the finished result is 100% perfect is not even the point anymore. The point is that it is happening. The point is that millions of people are watching it happen in real time. And every single one of those viewers is now asking themselves the same uncomfortable question. If my car gets damaged, do I really only have one option? That question is terrifying for traditional manufacturers. That question is exciting for new generation manufacturers like Koenigsegg. And that question explains, better than any official statement ever could, why Christian von Koenigsegg picked this exact moment to send a quiet little package to the man sitting at the center of the storm. Because the future of the hypercar industry is going to be decided by manufacturers who understand one very simple truth. The customer does not just want to own the car. The customer wants to own the experience of owning the car. And any brand that stands in the way of that, no matter how prestigious, no matter how iconic, no matter how rich in heritage, is eventually going to find themselves on the wrong side of history. Koenigsegg sees it. Bugatti publicly is still pretending not to. My honest prediction? Within the next 24 months, you are going to see more independent rebuilds, more open partnerships between hypercar manufacturers and content creators, and more transparency about what parts actually cost and what owners are genuinely entitled to. The wall is not going to fall all at once. It is going to fall the way Koenigsegg sent that package, quietly, politely, but with absolute conviction. Brick by brick, video by video, hoodie by hoodie, and by the time Bugatti realizes what has happened, the industry around them will already look completely different. Mat Armstrong is not the end of this story. He is barely the beginning of it. And the man who saw it coming first is sitting in a quiet factory in Sweden, smiling. So what started as a rebuild has turned into something much bigger. On one side, Bugatti is defending control, safety, and a tightly managed ecosystem around its hypercars. On the other, a YouTuber is proving that even a $6 million machine can be taken apart and rebuilt outside the factory. And watching from Sweden, Koenigsegg doesn't argue. It responds quietly, signaling a different philosophy entirely. At this point, the real question isn't about one Chiron anymore. It's about who gets to decide the future of hypercar ownership when the rules stop working.